Here's how to avoid diesel tuning nightmares. From high engine temps, from busted turbos, wrecked intercoolers, failed injectors, dodgy tunes, we're going to show you that not all diesel tunes are the same. We're going to show you why it's so important to get your vehicle on a dyno to tune it properly, and also show you the vehicles, the makes and the models that are most at risk of damage. If you book a tune and all they're doing is getting your four-wheel drive, plugging in a computer, loading some type of already done tune file into it, and then taking it for a spin around the block, this is called a CARPARK, or a load and go tune, and they're far from ideal.
So I want to show you how it's done. I connect the computer and the USB to the car and load the file.
A CARPARK tune can be loaded in 5 minutes. But how do you know that you haven't got a pre-existing problem with your turbo, injectors, intercooler, or something else that you actually didn't know about? A CARPARK tune will only make that worse. The answer is you don't.
All done.
And because it hasn't been custom tuned to suit your engine, your car, and how you drive it, how do you know you've got the most power out of your engine in the safest possible way? The only way to tune a vehicle properly is on a dyno, and custom tune it only after you've checked the engine to make sure it's working properly and to make sure the tune is safe.
All right guys, I want to stipulate we never do this at Ultimate Diesel Tuning, but your CARPARK tune can be done at your house, it can be done out the front of a workshop, it can be done in a car park at a shopping centre or anywhere. Within 3 minutes in this Prado, the tune file will be actually loaded in the car.
To show you the dangers of a CARPARK tune, we've got this Holden Colorado that's come in with a pre-existing tune. Rob's going to run up on the dyno and show us exactly what it's doing to the engine. Think of a dyno as just a big diagnostic tool. The tuner can monitor things like turbo pressure, fuel pressure, and injection timing, fuel to air ratios, engine temperatures and more while they tune your four-wheel drive. Righto, we've just run up the Colorado on the dyno, and we've found something really quite interesting. You might have noticed that when we were running up, there was a stack of black soot. Now that's very excessive for a modern vehicle. Now that's because the AFRs are way too rich. AFRs are short for air to fuel ratios. Engines need air and fuel to mix and combust to make efficient and reliable power. Too much air and it runs too lean and doesn't produce enough power and torque. Too much fuel and it runs too rich, which is hot and dangerous. So both extremes are not ideal, so it's important that the AFRs are being tuned correctly. So Rob, what's happening with this engine, mate?
Sean, as you can see, the green line here is the CARPARK tune with the AFRs being logged. And as you can see, from 2600 RPM, we've got a significant increase in the AFRs. What that means is a heap of fuel going into the car, into the motor, and a massive increase is going to happen with the EGTs to this vehicle as well.
Yeah, everybody knows that increasing EGTs is very, very dangerous to a vehicle. And what's worse is it's late in the rev range. So the real world example, what's that? Put a caravan on the back, you're going up a big hill, those EGTs are going to spike. They might see temperatures in excess of 600 degrees. It's going to start melting metal. That's quite a dangerous sort of tune, isn't it?
Yeah, and the owner of this car, Sean, he's actually setting up for touring. He's got a van, so imagine traveling up the range. We're talking never going up a range at sort of 2,500 RPM. We're at 3,000 plus, on load, on an incline. It's just going to spike those EGTs and absolutely pour the fuel into the car as well, making it really hot.
So is this owner is probably seeing a slight increase in power though?
Yeah, he's certainly seen a power increase, but the thing is it's the fuel. He's not going to realise how much heat is actually being generated in this motor.
For a very little gain.
Exactly.
You see, imagine this poor bloke drives away with his tune with no knowledge he's slowly buggering the engine. This is the huge benefit of a dyno in a tune, because now we've diagnosed the issue. We can tweak the tune and get some safer power gains. Righto, we've run up the Holden Colorado with a custom dyno tune. On this graph here, we've got the AFR ratios. Rob, can you explain what's happening here, mate?
Yeah, Sean, as we said, the green one was the CARPARK tune and the red one is the AFRs for the custom dyno tune that we've been able to replicate in real time on the dyno for how the customer's driving. We've gone through the rev range, and what it means where it's running leaner is less heat, reduced EGTs, and that's going to be a lot safer for this customer when he's towing his big van up those inclines.
You can even see right at the start of the rev range, it's way safer to begin with. What's so interesting is when the vehicle's under maximum load, it's starting to get around that sort of 3,000 RPM, you can see that your AFRs are tapering up while the CARPARK tune is tapering down. What's that all about?
So Sean, you hit the nail on the head. The CARPARK tune was loading the fuel in. We've got less fuel up top where the car's really working hard, towing that big van up that incline and reducing those EGTs for the customer.
So mate, I suppose everyone wants to know about the power now. You've got the custom tune on it. How much power is it making?
Let's have a look. So Sean, we've got all the tunes listed up here in front of us on the screen. The blue one is referring to the standard tune for the vehicle. The green line is referring to the CARPARK tune, and the red is referring to the custom dyno tune that we've done on the car, taking into consideration those driving conditions. As you can see, it's making more power and torque all the way through the rev range, but the big thing we were talking about before was above that 26, 3000 RPM, where we started to reduce the fuel ratio, the AFRs, to make it run a little bit cooler. But as you can see, it's tapered off, but it's still making more power than that CARPARK tune.
And what I find so interesting, Rob, is you're making more power with a safer tune. And a lot of people don't know this, but a CARPARK tune's going to set you back like $1,000. To get it custom tuned properly on the dyno is going to be maybe a few $100s more. And if you ask me, that's cheap insurance to make sure you're getting safe, reliable power. Now, one of the biggest problems with a CARPARK tune is there could be underlying problems with your vehicle. Now, you're not going to know about those problems until you put the tune on, and no doubt make those problems a lot worse, and probably only find out when it's way too late. The correct way to do a proper safe tune on a vehicle is first have a look at the engine, make sure it's got a good bill of health, it's a healthy engine, then start a full custom dyno tune, get it on the dyno and set the tune to the parameters of the vehicle. That's the only way you're going to get safe, reliable power. One of the biggest questions you've got to ask anybody you trust to tune your vehicle is what's in their pre-tune checklist. Now, we've got 3 examples Rob and the team at Ultimate Diesel see quite often that if you miss them, they could cause potentially catastrophic engine damage.
One of the biggest things we see in the workshops in our pre-tune inspection is boost leaks. It could be intercoolers with cracks in them, it could be loose hose clamps, or actually intercool hoses that have actually got cracks in them as well. One of the big things we want to do now is actually get it on the dyno, replicate this. I'm actually going to get a knife and cut into this intercooler hose and to replicate a boost leak.
We've run the Toyota Prado up on the dyno, 2 runs with no tune. The second run, of course, we put the little cut in the intercooler pipe to sort of simulate a boost leak. On the dyno, mate, there's a big difference. What's the story here?
Yeah, there is, Sean. So the red lines there are standard.
Yep.
The green lines are replicating that boost leak. And as I said, we did the pre-tune inspection. We can pick that up. As you can see, the biggest noticeable difference here, around 3000 RPM, with the leak, it's actually lost about 5 PSI boost pressure.
Yep.
Now, a loss in boost pressure, also air-fuel ratio changes as well. And we can see the air-fuel ratio is going from over 20 down to sort of 17.5.
Yeah, right. So then, say you were an unsuspecting customer, you've got a boost leak in there, you probably wouldn't notice a 10 kilowatt difference in power. You've driven it in there, you get a tune put on, a CARPARK tune, they're not going to know either.
Yeah.
So they're going to put that tune on. What's going to happen then?
Yeah, so that amplifies all the issues you've got there. So, you know, we talk about air-fuel ratios, it's going to get richer again. Obviously the boost leak is going to probably notice that a little bit more where it's going to be bleeding off more. The car's just going to run a lot worse.
All of a sudden your AFR is going to be down into real dangerous levels, and you're not getting the power you should be getting out of that vehicle. So mate, by running the Prado up in the dyno, you can tell straight away there's a boost leak.
Yeah, in real time we can look and see what it's doing on the dyno. I know a Prado is going to run 14 to 15 PSI in standard form. I've run this up on the dyno, been able to diagnose the car, make sure mechanically it's sound. It's not. 3000 RPM, we can see it's at about 10 PSI, so it's lost 5 PSI.
There's a boost leak. So if a customer comes in, they've got a boost leak, what would you do then?
So we need to fix that problem before any tuning can be done on this vehicle. Sean, here's another example of a boost leak in an intercooler. Now this one's come off a Navara 550, the V6. Both end tanks are leaking, and we commonly see these around 70,000 Ks on these, that the intercoolers are throwaway. This is a factory one where they usually we replace them with an aftermarket one.
Any other models that do this?
Yeah, look, the hot side pipe on the intakes of like BT50s and Rangers, we do see cracks like we saw on the Prado, on the dyno, in that sort of situation.
Now, I reckon the problem with this is that this is going to be hidden behind a lot of things like the grille, the bull bar. Your typical person's not going to notice that it's leaking. There's no obvious cracks in it. How do you find this out?
So I'm going back to that pre-tune inspection. We're seeing a drop in boost. You know, the guys are going to have a look at it and to see they know these common issues with the Navara and what's causing that. So we're identifying it before we start tuning, because we just can't tune a car with these sort of problems.
Yep.
Another common issue we see is, and this is an example with the Toyota N80 Hiluxes, where the turbos actually fail, whether it be due to, like we saw on the Prado, a boost leak, or a person's actually tuned the vehicle and put too much boost into the turbo. And it actually, you can see here, actually snaps the shaft. in the turbo.
So that's something that you guys understand these vehicles that well, that you know how much boost to put into one of these Hiluxes.
Yeah, with the tuning parameters, we know how much boost pressure this turbo can run without doing damage to the vehicle. And that's really important, obviously.
I guess one of the dangers is that a car park tuner, they get this Toyota Hilux, it might have a small little boost leak like we talked about before. That turbo is going to be overcompensating for that boost leak. They try and put in what they think is a safe amount of boost into that turbo. It's going to overspin, isn't it?
Yeah, so with the turbo, it's trying to hit a target amount of boost.
Yep.
If the turbo's not doing it via a boost leak, it's going to overspin the shaft, increase the RPM, and cause a damage with the turbo.
It's going to be unsafe.
Yeah.
So this shiny turbo here is one of your high flow turbos. You obviously replace the standard one with this in some cases.
Yeah, we do. Like for people looking for really a lot more extra power and torque, this is a perfect option for them where they're going to get those results, and it delivers it. And we developed that turbo based around all the issues that people did have with the standard N80 Hilux, and this fixes all those concerns.
So this is a common problem with an N80 Hilux.
Yeah, it is, Sean, and that's why we actually developed our own turbo, which is a high flow with bigger shafts in the middle of it, bigger compressor wheel and exhaust wheel. And the benefit of that is we can get more power and torque and running more boost through that turbocharger and comfortably doing it. One of the other areas we see, Sean, is with the V&T system on all common rail turbochargers, where they actually get sticky and gummy up. And what that means is it slows down, obviously, the response of the turbo, and the turbo's not making the boost that it should do in standard form. So if we're over-tuning that at that point, again, it's going to be running rich, and again, those issues we saw with the Prado.
Yep. Righto, Rob, it can be very confusing, I suppose, for somebody who wants a tune on their vehicle done. There's so many places that offer tunes. How can somebody cut through all the crap and basically ask the right questions to get the right tune done? Have you got any tips for them?
Tricky question, but there's a few things that you really need to be asking. You want to know the procedure behind how they tune the vehicle. Some of those questions like how many Ks are on the vehicle, what's the driving conditions, what are the sort of goals you want to achieve with the vehicle long term as well. I think you've seen today the benefits of really doing the pre-tune inspection to underline if there is any mechanical issues with the vehicle, and also asking your tuner what's the process behind tuning and making sure you're getting the car on a dyno and custom dyno tuning it.
So there you go, guys. That really highlights the dangers of getting a car park tune. The way I like to look at it, if you're getting a car park tune, it really is like playing Russian roulette with your very expensive engine. And let's face it, nobody wants to do that. These are a significant investment. They cost a lot of money to fix. You don't want to muck around with it. You want to ensure that you're getting it done very safely to get that safe, reliable power. And that's what it's all about. Now, if you've got any questions about what we've covered today about custom dyno tuning, make sure you put it in the comments below. The guys from Ultimate Diesel will do their best to get through every single question that you guys have got. And likewise, if you've got any questions, you can even give them a call or even go onto their website at ultimatedieseltuning.com.au.